Welcome to Beyond Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Petralis, and we are ultra excited for our guest today. I think we have a really good, sneakily guest on here that is going to be add awesome insight and be a lot of fun. Before we jump into that, I just want to give two shout outs. One, last Wednesday, we were able to cover the Agganis High School Football All-Star Game, and it was a lot of fun. I got to meet a lot of kids that are playing football at a lot of different schools next year, some great coaches, and it was a cool atmosphere. So we were able to post it up on our IGTV. Take a look at it if you haven't yet. It was a lot of fun, a lot of great kids, and a lot of memories for sure. And we also want to give a shout out to Razzo's Bar and Grill. We were there this past Thursday night shooting our second main course, and what an experience! Fun place from start to finish. I mean, it got packed there at 5 o'clock, and it didn't let up till 11, 12 o'clock at night. It was a fun time. We were there, and we're really glad that we were able to get to work with them on our main course segment. So I just want to give those two things a shout out. And now on to our great guest, someone that I've been looking forward to. I've had this circled on the calendar for a little bit. And I'm really excited to kind of talk about, the position that this person is in, but also just the hard work and the commitment it took to also get there. Right now, today, we have on the player development coordinator of the minor league system for the Red Sox, ladies and gentlemen, Harry Roberson.
What's up, Anthony? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man. This is going to be a treat today. I'm super excited. So when I started doing my homework on you, and I love doing this with guests on here, I realized that you're a pretty good player outside of Belmont Hill. So I'm going to have you talk a little bit about your decision-making as far as playing at that next level in college. And then I want to talk about your college stats a little bit. So for the portion of coaches that listen to our shows and even athletes that listen to our shows, one of the big decisions that a high school senior has to make is, especially when they want to play sports at that next level, is picking a school that's right for them, not necessarily just going to a school to play that sport that they're being recruited for, but also kind of figuring out what the best fit. Now, for you, you went to Amherst, but you were at Belmont Hill, and I know there were other schools that looked at you, but what was kind of, I guess, for you, some of the deal breakers into choosing a school that you felt was the best fit for you, not just as an athlete, but also just for an education standpoint?
Yeah, for sure. I was pretty fortunate that I have two older sisters that went on to play college sports as well. So I got kind of a sneak peek at what my process might look like and what they based their decisions off of, what they liked, what they didn't. But I think the best piece of advice I got was from my parents, and they told me, they said, when you're looking at a school, pick a school that you would go to if you never played another inning, if you never played a sport again, pick a school that you would still enjoy and like to go to. And I think looking back on that now, that was probably the best piece of advice I got, because when you're in the moment, you're so focused on your sport and you want to play at the highest level you can, and you want to play right away and do all those things. But it really can happen pretty quickly in terms of if you get injured or something else happens and that sport goes away. You want to be in a spot that you enjoy, that you're getting a good education, that you're making friends at. So I think looking back, that was probably the best piece of information I got, and allowed me to go into my college visits and kind of look at it, definitely factor in the sport, but factor in the other things as well the sport would be an enhancement to my experience overall.
Yeah, and I think it's great. And you being at Belmont Hill, I mean, obviously you were two sport athletes, so you probably had double decision to make as far as which sport you wanted to commit to and play, but also the offers that were getting thrown to you. And I had mentioned, obviously, you chose Amherst College, and it was the right decision for you as a baseball player. You chose to play baseball. And this segment I like to call like street cred. I like to give a little bit of street cred to anybody we have on here. So I'm just going to read your college numbers because I think they're insane, truthfully. You were a 4-year shortstop there, 3-time all-conference selection, 2-time captain under Easton head coach now Brian Ham at Amherst College. And you later coached with Coach Ham, and we'll talk about that later on. You also led them to 2 NCAA tournaments, and you also had won the NASDAQ your senior year, I know, which was a big deal to you and a big accomplishment. So in 153 games, here we go, 198 hits, your career batting average 340, 148 runs scored, 103 RBIs, 36 stolen bases, and you compile 476 assists. Holy moly, man. I mean, that is like a video game season. So I guess to me, I mean, you're a pretty humble and modest guy, but the one thing that I'm really interested in, I actually left this out till the end, is you are also the all-time leading, make sure I'm saying this right, you also are the leading all-time leader in hits in the school's history. Talk about that. I mean, to me, that seems pretty cool, like playing at a school and being the all-time anything on a list when you're playing a sport. I mean, talk about being the all-time hitter there.
Yeah, when you put it like that, it does sound pretty good. I think in the moment, more focused on just like trying to perform well. Obviously, there were times when I didn't, but I was really fortunate to have 4 really good years there and be surrounded by really great people. And I think that's kind of in a sense made it easy for me to just go out, practice, and play and do that. I will say, so one of my good friends was a year ahead of me, Yanni Thanopoulos, and he went on a tear his senior year to set the record, and I knew I kind of had it in my sights a little bit. So uh, there was some good old fashioned trash talk between me and him going into my senior year. I think I lagged behind a little bit my senior year as compared to my others, but I eventually got him and was able to text him too when I did it. So that was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed my 4 years there. And I
So,
also do have to shout
so
out.
let me ask you this. When did you have an idea of, hey, I have a shot at this. I got a shot at breaking this. When did it maybe first register you that, oh, if I keep this up on average, I could definitely surpass this?
Yeah, I would say it was probably when Yanni ended up breaking it, and then knowing where I was at the end of my junior year, his senior year, and kind of understanding where I was at, how many games we'd be able to play, and as long as I didn't totally stink my senior year, I had a good shot at it.
That's cool. That's cool. Now you were going to give a shout out to somebody. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just was just curious.
Yeah, no worries. So my freshman year, there was a junior there by the name of Mike Odenwalder. He's still the hitting coach there, but he got drafted after his junior year. So I have to thank him for leaving because otherwise he might have put that record out of reach, and I don't think I would have got there.
That's great. So do you get something for that? Like, did you get like a plaque, or when you got that hit, did they stop the game at all or anything like that type deal?
Yeah, so they did stop the game. I have all 3 baseballs, the one I tied the record, the one I set the record, and then my last hit there as well. So I have those 3 baseballs. They stopped the game. It was pretty cool. My dad was able to come up and be there as well to see it. So it was a pretty special moment.
And where's second place compared to you right now? Like the person who's chasing you, is there someone who has a shot at breaking this?
So I think second is still Yanni. He's at 191, so he's 7 off. COVID definitely threw a wrench in a couple guys' chances at it. So I think at least the guys that are there now might be kind of tough, but you never know.
That's cool. Hey, listen, as I said, all time anything. It's cool to have. It's a cool resume thing, and I want to make sure you got the credit you deserve for it. So, one of the things that I mentioned was when we were going over your stats is you played for Coach Brian Ham. Now, Ham ended up moving, I believe, to Eastern Connecticut, and is that correct? Eastern Connecticut,
Yeah,
right? Okay.
yeah.
And you ended up kind of when you came out of school, one of the first things you did was jump into coaching, and you actually jumped onto that coaching staff. And I'm just going to read what Coach Ham had said about you as a player and as a coach when you had joined his staff at Eastern. It said, Harry is one of the bright young minds in college baseball. As a player, Harry embodied the traits that we want Eastern players to carry. His intelligent play matched with great talent, unparalleled work ethic, and sportsmanship led to a tremendous success. As a coach, Harry communicates well the adjustments that work best for players based on his strong knowledge of technique and tactics. I mean, every player has like a pretty special coach in their life that has affected them in a certain way. And it seems like you and Coach Ham have a pretty good relationship. I just wanted to give you the opportunity to maybe talk about Coach Ham a little bit and how he's, maybe helped you even to the point of where you're at right now currently.
Yeah, for sure. I think firstly, it's important to note that he is prone to exaggeration. So I do appreciate him saying all that. But no, he's been integral in both my collegiate success as a player and then where I'm at now. Um, he was someone that he always demanded the most out of his players, but the thing that resonated the most was that he demanded it of himself too. And I think that was something that I got to see, especially coaching with him, is after the practices are over, after everyone else has left and he's in his office thinking about what he could have done better, what he needs to do the next day, scouting, whatever the case may be, like he it sounds really simple to say, but I think it's hugely important, and the guy cares. He cares about his players. He cares about his programs, and I think that always comes through. So that's pretty special to hear.
Yeah, and it was pretty cool. I mean, coaching with him, I'm sure, terminology wise, things were really similar and so on. But talk about just being on that other side a little bit. I mean, coaching, the game, people come in and they know the game, but also being able to kind of teach the game and make sure that people understand it consistently and being able to coach it, there is a little bit of a different aspect. And just where I have a lot of coaches on, just I know you had a brief coaching career, but maybe just talk about being on that other side of the diamond a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. My playing experience obviously hugely important. I think as a player, I was never the strongest. I was never the fastest. So I was constantly kind of looking for those small margins to try to get better. And for me, that was always sort of trying to understand the game, understanding not only what my own responsibilities were, but what the pitcher's trying to do, or even in high school basketball, what the defense is trying to do, where other people need to be. So just kind of trying to understand it from a holistic perspective, and be able to know it that way, and that's kind of what allowed me to have a lot of my success. So I think that translated as a coach, because I would have coaches, right, and obviously every coach wants you to do your best, but they would tell you something over and over, and you're like, man, like I'm just not getting it, whether it was a field swinging or fielding or whatever the case may be, and you're like, I need you to say it a different way, or I need a translator sometimes. And so for me, it was kind of going through those experiences. It was understanding that, hey, not every guy's going to get everything the same way. So you might be teaching two guys the same exact move in their swing, or load or timing, whatever it is, but you got to say it two different ways, because you say it one way and one guy gets it right away and another guy doesn't. So I think that for me was probably the biggest piece of it, is just understanding that, hey, yeah, in your own head, you're like, this is really simple, you know how to do it, but these guys have been taught differently, they understand things differently. So being able to kind of go back and forth and be able to say what you want in multiple different ways.
Yeah, and it's so funny to hear that, because it doesn't seem like it doesn't matter what level it is, whether it's youth, high school, or even college. Like you said, people aren't going to get things the first time around, and having that flexibility and adaptability of being able to say it a different way, teach it a different way, approach it a different way is so important. It's like communication and coaching, like in a lot of other things, is just it's so vital. And some people that are great at it are great communicators. I mean, great coaches are great communicators. I mean, you can go across any sport at any level, and some of the best coaches that have been there consistently and doing consistently, you'd argue that they're the best communicators, out there, not just the best coaches. One really cool thing also, just in our conversation, our pre-phone conversation a little bit, was your history of talking about Amherst. Now, at Amherst, they've graduated 3 major league GMs out of there. We have Dan Duquette, 1980, Neil Huntington, 91, Ben Charrington, 96. And, they're all GMs, or at least, Duquette and Charrington. I know that Charrington took over for Huntington, so if in Pittsburgh. So, it's really interesting to see that. My question to you is, did you know going into Amherst that there was such a, I guess, rate of people being involved in Major League Baseball, and say to yourself, this is also part of the decision why I chose Amherst College?
Definitely, I was aware of it. That was another thing. Coach Ham and now Coach Pine after him, they've done a really good job of staying in touch with the network and keeping up those relationships, so that when they have people that want to try to stay in baseball, they're able to kind of tap into that network. So I was aware of it, and I guess I didn't fully appreciate it either until you get there and you understand kind of the small college in Western Massachusetts, and how many people have been able to continue careers in sport outside of playing. And while I was there, they brought those 3 guys back for a panel. So while I was there, I kind of had that representation as well. So that was hugely important.
It's awesome. I mean, I think it's a really cool, stat or statistic, just kind of for the college itself, the fact that they are pumping out major league GMs. So obviously there's something that's going in there, whether it's a good pipeline or just the program that they have that they pump out minds like that. So I thought that was a really interesting aspect, and obviously a part of your choice, and good choice of where you are now. So obviously you coached when you came out of college, and we talked about that a little bit. But then your first kind of break, or one of your first real breaks into Major League Baseball, was working with the Toronto Blue Jays organization. So how did that work? Again, I know Amherst had a lot to do that and Coach Ham and so on. So I know that there was a lot of connections out of Amherst that helped out. But I guess talk about how that came about and interviewing for like a major league, position for a major league sport.
Yeah. Honestly, I would say it would start with the decision to go to Eastern and get back in the dugout on the other side, um, as a sort of way to kind of put my money where my mouth was in a sense and show how uh, passionate I was for the game and kind of making a career in baseball work. However that was going to take shape. So I was able to parlay that into an internship with the Toronto Blue Jays, as a video intern for their Appalachian League affiliate in Bluefield, West Virginia. So that was definitely an interesting experience for me. I'd never been to that part of the country, so that was really cool. Spent 2.5 months there, and it was a video internship, so my duties were to kind of make sure the cameras were set up for each game, tagging the games, making sure we were getting the data that we needed from each game. But one of the most important parts to that internship was it was at that level, that rookie level, where there just weren't that many hands on deck. So as things popped up, I often became the guy that had to figure them out. And so I think for me that was a huge experience to kind of get a feel for what goes on in professional baseball and kind of what tasks need to be done. So that was really important.
Now, is there like a program that you guys punch that into? So you have cameras set up, and I'm guessing pitch count or zone and things like that. Is there a specific program that they work with that breaks down that data, or is that like man-made people doing it?
So there's a software basically that you're tagging on a computer. So you're tagging kind of ball, strike, outcome of the pitch, and essentially what it's doing is creating time tags for 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 each event. And then when you go back and you feed the video through that software, it'll create the time tags for each event, so that each pitch has its own sort of clip. So it's creating clips of each pitch in the game.
That's cool. I mean, I'm just always so intrigued by technology in other sports. I mean, I know for football, the film breakdown and huddle that I use and able to cut clips and tag clips and things like that. So it's always interesting. And obviously at a major league level, it's a whole different ball game of tracking data. So just always intrigued by that. What was the biggest learning experience? I mean, you were kind of out in the middle of nowhere, right? And you became more responsible in taking on tasks that weren't necessarily in your category or what your job description was. But what would you say, being there for the time that you were, what was like the biggest learning point for you that is you've taken to the next level, which we'll talk about in a minute, what your current position is?
Yeah, I would say two biggest things. The first would be, so one of my duties was I was the team van driver, so I would take the guys in the morning, take them to lunch, take them to the field. I think we would fit between like 12 and 14 guys in the van at a time. So it was usually two van trips to lunch, two van trips to the field. But I think uh, that was really important because one, it was an environment where I was meeting these guys as not just a video intern, but as another human being. And so kind of getting to know those guys, having conversations with them, trying out my bad Spanish with a few of them helping me with some Spanish words, me with a little bit of English. So kind of just understanding them in that regard, and understanding that at the end of the day, these guys are people all the same as we are. And yeah, they play professional baseball, and they're obviously really excited to do that, but they they get nervous like we do. They have the same hopes, dreams, fears, all that stuff. So I think that was pretty eye opening. And then the second thing was actually being able to get on field experience. So we would have days where there was early work going on, and we had a coach for the infielders, a coach for the catchers, coach for the pitchers, coach for the hitters. But usually the outfielders would kind of get left on their own. So uh, being that I was there and available, I would go out with the outfielders, and I think being able to show those guys that I knew baseball a little bit. Obviously, didn't play professionally, but knew a little bit, could help them get better. And I think for them to see me in that light as well was pretty cool.
Do you ever were you ever at the field and just like want to step in for batting practice and take a few swings? Do you ever take one out during batting practice and people are like, who the hell is this intern?
So I did take batting practice. I think twice there. Once was a little bit earlier in the season, and I did okay. Hit a couple balls okay. Nothing out. I was not a big power hitter, but they're like, all right, this kid at least knows what swinging a bat looks like. The second time was at the very last day there. It did not go well, but
Ah.
the first time was good. The first time went well. But I will say, I mean, the amount of work that these guys put in on a daily basis is pretty incredible. So seeing that firsthand, it made me miss baseball less. The amount that they practice to get ready for the games is pretty incredible.
And that's crazy to say because in college, I'm sure it felt like a full time job and was a full time job. So saying that next level for you to be like, yeah, it's even crazier. It's like, wow, I couldn't even imagine that. So that's a huge indicator of how hard they work at that next level, whether it's single A, double A, triple A, or the show. So it's cool. And then obviously, you took that experience and you had a really cool experience. You had a team reach out to you, or a team that was interested in interviewing you. And I don't want to spoil anything. I kind of want to give you that platform, but talk about how this internship led you to your next step and where you're currently at right now.
Yeah, so was able to go from that internship to a full-time role with the Blue Jays as a development coach, and that's a cool role that they've instituted in the past few years. And it's again, there's so much information these days that's available to players and coaches and organizations that it's basically an extra set of eyes and ears at the affiliates to sort of parse through that information, collect the important information, give what's relevant to the coaches and players, and then to all the dev coaches they've had have been really good baseball minds as well. So unfortunately, that role got cut a little short because of COVID. I was supposed to be in New Hampshire with their Double A affiliate, and then was going to be on this year as a hitting coach until this opportunity with the Red Sox came up.
And that's awesome. So, I mean, talk about the experience with the Red Sox. I mean, you're a Massachusetts guy. I mean, big time baseball player. I'm sure you grew up idolizing players, idolizing teams of the Red Sox. So, to kind of get that call and get that opportunity with the Red Sox, I mean, just as a Boston person to another Boston person rooting for that team and working for them. I mean, how cool of the experience was that to find out that they're interested in you?
Yeah, that was really cool, and it definitely came out of left field. No pun intended, but it was a little bit weird just because I had such a great experience with the Blue Jays, and they're a really good organization, and the people that I got to work with there were really special. So to kind of have a really good thing going and then have this pretty incredible opportunity come along, it was almost overwhelming when it came through, but it definitely took a few days to sort of digest and be like, man, the Red Sox want to interview for a job. So that was, it's still surreal. And there's still days where I have to pinch myself and make sure that it is real. And I am working for the Red Sox, but you come to learn that you still have a job to do as well.
Yeah, and so your role with them is a player development coordinator in the minor league system. So that type of job, I mean, talk about what you're doing, what your role is on a daily basis. I mean, are you working out of Fenway? Are you working more down in Fort Myers? I mean, what's that gig look like for you throughout the season?
Yeah, so I'm based out of Boston, and then during spring training was down in Fort Myers for spring training. During the year, roving around to the different affiliates as well, and then in Boston in the off season. So it's kind of a bit of everything, which was exciting to me, and just sort of um, collecting again information that we need, making sure it's in a digestible form, and players are getting it as well as staff, and ultimately just making sure that the resources we have available are being utilized properly for our players, and trying to make more minor leaguers into big leaguers at the end of the day.
That's awesome. That's cool. I mean, that's awesome to be able to work for the Red Sox, to have such a cool gig. And like you said, pinching yourself to say, wow, I can't believe this is real. This is my job every single day. Um, what's the coolest story you have so far working for the organization? What's something working for the Red Sox that a person you might have met, or a situation that you walked into, or something really cool that the average fan would be like, wow, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I honestly I would say probably the the moment that really made me step back and be like, whoa, was after I had, well, first of all, interviewing for the role and being offered the role, but then I had a phone call and had a missed call, and it wasn't a number I had. So it went to voicemail, and I get a voicemail and it says, Harry, this is Chaim Bloom. Just wanted to congratulate you and welcome you to the organization. So to get that call from someone who's had the success and has come over and it has come over to the Red Sox, that was a moment definitely for sure that I'll never forget.
I mean, that's awesome. I mean, and I think he's doing a great job. I mean, the proof's in the pudding right now. And, he seems to understand the game from a value standpoint. And that's cool. I mean, I think he's doing a great job. So to have someone, and who knows, maybe that's your aspirations down the road of wanting to be in a position like that. But I think that's cool. That's real cool. So obviously this is a show that we're really focusing on coaching and athletes and so on. And you kind of check every single box that we have. What would be your advice to young athletes out there that are looking to pursue that next level of playing at college, or maybe in your instance, in whatever sport it is that, they're playing, they want to pursue that next level, whether it's high college, working in front offices, things like that, or at the professional level? What would be your advice to young athletes out there?
I would say first and foremost to make sure that you're taking care of the things you need to be today. It can be a time in your life where you start to look ahead and wonder about what if I go here, what if I do this, what if I play well today and that coach is in the crowd, and you can really drive yourself crazy going through all those what if scenarios. So I think for me the biggest piece of advice is just take care of your daily activities, whatever they happen to be, whether it's practice, studies, all those things. And you'll start to realize that as you take care of those things and you start to exceed at those things because you do them diligently and get better at them day to day, the other stuff tends to take care of itself. And I would say, kind of just to go on top of that, is talk to people you trust. I was really fortunate in that I had my family and the network at Belmont Hill and the college counselors we had there that I got really good advice, and kind of was able to maximize both my playing potential and my education at a place like Amherst. So take care of what you can take care of, be where your feet are, and then listen to people you trust, talk to people you trust, and understand that sometimes that means getting feedback that you don't necessarily want. It may be being told that, hey, D1's not probably going to be in your future, but you could be a really good D3 player and you can get a really good education and set yourself up for years to come.
And I love that last part, because that's what I think sometimes is the most important attribute of all, is like listening to what people say to you, because right, you don't want to put yourself in a position that you might be playing at a level that you're just not capable of playing, and you need someone who really cares about you and thinks about your future to kind of tell you that. So I love that piece of advice. I think that's great. And then the last question I have for you is just kind of, obviously you're in a great role right now, you're super happy, you're kind of living in the moment. Do you have bigger aspirations? You going into this and saying to yourself, this is kind of what I'm striving for? Or are you playing it more moment by moment, job by job, spot by spot, happiness by happiness? I mean, are you kind of just playing as it goes?
I think my family would tell you I'm more of a moment to moment type of person.
Yeah.
And that's definitely what I do try to focus on. Obviously we all want to achieve and do better. And so for me, yes, obviously I want to eventually keep going in what I'm doing, but for me, it's kind of understanding that the path to doing that is, again, taking my own advice and taking care of what I do on a daily basis and doing that to the best of my ability. So I think that's kind of what I try to put my energy towards. Obviously, given that I've been able to see people go through Amherst and have such great success, that gives me like hope, and it gives me something to shoot for. But again, just like for me, I didn't really think I was going to be here a year ago or 2 years ago. So enjoying where I'm at now and trying to do really well so that I can keep having those moments.
And that's cool. In a lot of college, coaches that I've had on too, the one thing they talk about is always just their network connection of where they went to school. I know Springfield, we had a couple Springfield College guys on here, and they talked about how Springfield College connections have helped them with their job so much. And I'm sure obviously with Amherst, you kind of have the same exact thing, and maybe pursuing those jobs as time goes on. So I just want to thank you for coming on here. I think you were a great guest. I think that the sky's the limit for you, and this won't be the last we're hearing of you. And I have you on here now when you're a young guy in a position, but when you become like a GM and move up there, I expect another interview with you at some point if you're a GM somewhere.
If that happens, you will definitely get an interview for
That's
sure.
right. I got a coach who said if he wins a national championship after he does all his ESPN stuff, I'm next. And
There you
so
go.
this is great. So now I have a possible GM lined up at some point as well. So this is great. But the last segment that we're going to do with this show, it's called the 2-minute drill. And I'm just going to basically fire some rapid fire questions at you. 1 or 2 word answers. We're pretty flexible here if you want to explain a little bit. I do get a red flag if I want you to explain something a little bit more. If I think it's funny or just you might want the opportunity to explain it more, I'll throw it and give you the opportunity to do so. So we get great feedback here on this segment. It's a lot of fun. So I'm going to set the timer, and here we go. Favorite all-time Red Sox player?
Gotta go, David Ortiz.
Okay. Team in college that you always wanted to beat?
Wesleyan Cardinals.
Okay. One word that you would use to describe getting plunked by a fastball?
Brutal.
I'm gonna throw the red flag on this. Talk about that. I couldn't imagine getting drilled by like a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. It's gotta kill.
Yeah. So fortunately, I was never really seeing 95, but quick funny story. I actually got hit my senior year by a kid uh, who pitched at Eastern Connecticut, and he got me with I think it was 86 or 87, and that hurt like hell. So I can only imagine what 97 feels like.
I mean, you see major league players just walking it off, like walk it off when they get hit, like it's nothing. I feel like I'd go down, curl up in a ball, and like the game be delayed 20 minutes at least just to get me to the dugout. Like I
Yeah.
can't imagine. Just curious. That's all. All right, I'll set the timer back, and here we go. Most rocking college field that you've ever played at? Hey, Harry, you there? All right. Well, listen, I think we lost him. So we're going to end the podcast here. But phenomenal podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Petrellis. Harry Roberson. Oh, here he is. We lost you for a second. We got you back. This is great. All right. So I didn't hear your stadium answer if you said it.
I would go Amherst College after they redid it after my freshman year.
Gotcha. Okay. Most memorable moment working in MLB thus far?
First time I had to flip in a cage to professional hitters.
Okay. Funniest teammate you've ever had?
Probably Yanni Thanopoulos.
Okay. And last question. I've been asking everybody this now for weeks. Week 4 in the NFL, Brady versus Belichick. Who's winning the game?
Belichick's winning the game.
Okay. Awesome. All right. You survived the 2-minute drill. And I want to, again, thank you for coming on here. I know you have a really busy schedule. So to be able to squeeze us in, we really appreciate it. And like I said, we're really excited to have you on here. All right. I think we lost you again. So if he doesn't come back here, guys, we're going to sign out from here. Welcome, Beyond Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Petrellis. Till next time.